Big Friday episode as the Cubs decide to honor two rival players before a certain Cubs legend. The Cubs fall to the Cardinals to wrap up a long 5-game series and best and worst of the week. That's all on this edition of Locked On Cubs.
Locked On Cubs, your daily Chicago Cubs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to Locked On Cubs alongside Sam Olber. I'm Matt Cozy. Pleased to be with you for a Friday episode. Today's episode is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, where the game starts. Before we get to Cubs Cardinals, Sam, we're going to start with some Sammy Sosa discussion following the Cubs' decision to honor Cardinals players Yadier, Molina, and Albert Pujols before Thursday's game. It's definitely produced some chatter throughout the day, and it's going to produce some chatter now on this show. How's it going over there? And let's get into it.
I'm angry. I'm disappointed in the performance today, and we'll discuss that later. And you and I, aren't exactly on the same wavelength here. So let me tell you how I feel about this whole situation, and then you could tell me if you think I'm wrong. So I have no problem with the Cubs doing and when we say honor Molina and Pujols, it was a very small, harmless thing. It wasn't like a ceremony, you know what I mean? It wasn't anything crazy. But to me, and I'm somebody that's been passionate about this, and I think now is the best time to really actually dig in instead of hinting at it, because we have hinted at it multiple times on the show. I just don't understand how you could honor. I think honor is the right word, or acknowledge, but I think honor is the right word. Two guys that have been a thorn in your side for over a decade, and pretend the guy that has done probably the most for this entire franchise doesn't exist. And let's lay it out really quick for the listeners that may not be super familiar with the situation.
Sure.
The reason why Tom Ricketts is not acknowledging Sammy Sosa is because he feels like he owes the Cubs organization an apology. Now, he never really specified for what. We could assume it's PEDs, the corked bat, the way he left in 2004, or maybe just not coming clean on all of it. And all that stuff is fair on Tom Ricketts' end. But, Barry Bonds was honored in San Francisco. Mark McGwire was honored in St. Louis. I just think, Matt, the moral part of it, I just don't think. I think it's what the fans want is more important here than anything, diving into these details. For example, I understand. I've been taught my whole life, hey, if everybody's doing it, it doesn't make it right. So I understand that this point doesn't hold a lot of value, but everybody was taking steroids in that era. And Sosa was just one of the best. So he was is the one that's outcasted the most. David Ortiz just got elected to the Hall of Fame. He got caught doing steroids or PEDs. And I totally understand Ricketts' point of view, Matt, about, okay, maybe he owes him an apology or not. But to me, if I was the owner of the team, I would just bite the bullet. And Ricketts himself has said, hey, this year is not what Cubs fans deserve. Well, you know what Cubs fans want and deserve for the most part is to acknowledge the guy that hit 60 homers in 3 out of 4 years and put 40,000 butts in the seats for 6-7 straight years. I just think it's the right thing to do. And the reason why I'm extra passionate about it today is I just don't think it's right. If you're not going to honor Sammy Sosa, then you are not acknowledging anything that anybody else that hasn't worn a Cub uniform is doing. And I know you don't agree, so tell me.
Well, I have one more example, actually, to support your thesis.
Yeah.
Alex Rodriguez. He was actually banned from the sport for an entire season, and then he ended up on Sunday Night Baseball.
Right.
I mean, have you seen a rebound like that?
Right. And Bonds coached for the Marlins. And I know people are going to say, well, Sammy Sosa never
McGwire coached.
Yeah, and Sammy Sosa never, the difference is, right? I like to always
let's air it out. Let's air it out.
I always like to say what the other person would say that disagrees, because my dad disagrees with me. Me and my dad have argued about this. The difference is he hasn't come out publicly and admitted it yet. And my thing is this. There's a lot of things that have went wrong in the game of baseball. with steroids and cheating. And I still think it's going on today. I just think it's with pitchers, not PEDs, but with this,
Grips.
the grips and the spin rate and all
Yeah,
this stuff. And this pitching era,
maybe.
it's always been a game like this. All I know is that the time from 1998 to like 2005, it was the best time of baseball ever. And it was the most popular. And Sammy Sosa was one of the 2 or 3, at least one of the guys on Mount Rushmore for that. And I just think I just think it's a situation where you just bite the bullet. He was such a fan favorite. I mean, I was watching a video of him yesterday.
I'm sure you were.
After 9/11, coming out with the American flag in the right field, and then hitting the homer. I mean, like, what are we doing here? Like, it's just and I know people are like, well, why are you talking about this now? Because the Pujols Molina thing, it's like, really, we're gonna honor Albert Pujols and Pujols I can live with. He's one of the all-time greats. Yadier Molina. I mean, what are we talking about? Yadier Molina couldn't tie Sammy Sosa's shoes, man. I mean, what are we doing?
Maybe he's got Velcro sneakers. You don't know. All right, I got a couple things on this, Sam, if you could stay with me here.
Please, and you look good.
Okay, thank you. First of all, Sammy Sosa not being just simply acknowledged by the Cubs and any stitching at all is a disgrace. It's actually hard for me to connect the two because Tom Ricketts wasn't around when he was around.
It makes no sense.
So what does he want? What do the Ricketts family want in order to bring one of the legends of the franchise back? Okay, that's a question that I would pose out there, right? You helped to answer that, right?
An apology.
Yeah,
that's what they want. He quoted that in an article in 18.
So then the other element to this, however, is that I still think that the Cardinals today being here and taking one of these trips to Wrigley down the stretch run of the season, if you wanted to acknowledge Pujols and even Molina, I know you've given him a hard time all week. You called him a single A hitter on Thursday's show. But Pujols was one of the most feared hitters.
Yeah, no, for
so long. I mean, it was almost comical. It's like, all right, here comes Pujols.
Right.
And from the right side, there wasn't many better.
No. Maybe nobody.
Other teams have acknowledged him. Okay. The Giants were the first ones to do it this year. I know the Mets did. When the Cardinals went to Fenway, they did a small celebration thing. Beyond that, I'm not actually too positive on it, but other teams have.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they could live on separate islands.
Sure.
Now, as I'm kind of live processing, I could see where a hypocritical argument comes in. Because when I think of that word, I do think there's kind of a self-righteous stand that you could build. And if you're positing that Ricketts just needs an apology from Sammy, then that would qualify as at least semi-hypocritical. Because then you're saying, you know what, I'm going to stand on my perch here. I'm going to own this ball club. I'm going to run this team. I'm going to do all this stuff to the stadium. And I am going to launch a Cubs Hall of Fame. There was just a class announced last night with Pat Hughes and 2 others. And that brought up the whole topic even last year at this time when the first class was announced, over 50 players, no Sosa. He was so much a part of my childhood and building a buzz, not only for the Cubs, but really for the sport. I know Eric in South Carolina sent us a great voicemail last week, and others have tweeted at us and things like that. I guess when I see this happen today with St. Louis, it is frustrating that, I don't see the two connected necessarily, but I do think it highlights the frustration surrounding number 21. And the fact is that so many fans are connected with him, connected with the team, with the sport because of him. And, how much more time do you need? Because as somebody that is soft-hearted, open-minded, what heals a lot of things? Time. There's been plenty of time. His last season with the Cubs was years ago. So it's really befuddling.
Yeah, I just think the good outweighs the bad. And the point is, here's my biggest point. I don't think this is Ricketts' decision. Ricketts, I understand he owns the team. Everything runs through him. He didn't own the team when Sammy Sosa was around. All the stuff that he could be hearing about Sammy Sosa in terms of how he was could be hearsay. To me, this is a fan's decision. And Tom Ricketts was quoted just 2 weeks ago, and we talked about it on the show, saying, hey, this year the fans deserve better. Well, you know what the fans deserve? They should get to honor one of the guys. I mean, with all due respect to Ernie Banks, probably the guy when you think about Chicago Cubs baseball. And and look, maybe it's a little bit random. Maybe you're right. And Matt's point, to be clear, because he was more aggressive towards me off the air than he's been on, was, hey, I don't think these two things are related. I think just giving Molina and Pujols a hello, thanks for coming, is nothing to do. They're not saying, oh, we like you better than Sammy Sosa. These are two separate totally issues, which I agree with. I just think it's still a bad look. Hey, we're not going to acknowledge Michael Jordan, but we're going to acknowledge
Larry
Paul
Bird.
Paul George. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Molina. I'm thinking, Pujols I agree with. And by the way, just to not to overdo it, has Albert Pujols announced he's done yet?
No, in fact, before the show, as we were prepping, the Chicago Tribune, Paul Sullivan actually wrote a story the other day, and he made the point of what farewell tour?
Yeah, right.
He's crushing the ball. Who says he can't come back?
So how bad?
Why a farewell tour?
So why are we forcing it? Like, you know what I'm saying? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Right, is it public relations?
I just think it's, and by the way, I'm not against doing it for Pujols and Molina. Great players, whatever. I'm just saying, if you do it for them, at least say, hey, we've reached out to Sammy. Maybe Sammy doesn't want to come back. Just reach out, do something.
I would think he would.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I look at these steroids guys, and I look at the game of baseball today with the Garrett Coles and all these guys that are throwing 101, and I think 10, 15 years from now, we're going to have the same conversation with them. There's a lot of stuff going on in baseball that people don't realize.
Is he your favorite Cubs player?
Sammy Sosa?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was my hero as a kid. I missed Michael Jordan. I was too little.
Right.
My first real hero. And I had the same name as him. When you're little, that stuff matters. From 98 to 04, he was like a god.
You've been known to watch some YouTube videos on him.
A lot. I mean, you know what? And for those people that disagree with me, go Google the home run derby at Miller Park and tell me you don't want that guy at Wrigley Field. Hell, I want him in the lineup.
Yeah, he would look nice hitting fourth tomorrow night.
Yeah, he looks like Reyes. I mean, they're both big men that hit the ball out of the park. Although Reyes has been hitting a lot of grounders lately.
We're going to get back to the current Cubs team as the Cubs fall to the Cardinals on Thursday. We're going to do that next. BetOnline.net is the fastest and easiest way to check in on all your betting needs. Find all your favorite sports and events at the #1 online source for odds, lines, and games. Find reviews and news of every league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, esports, and even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all your sports wagering info. From live in-game betting, scores, and podcasts, they have you covered. Head to BetOnline today or use your mobile device to learn more about the action happening today. BetOnline, where the game starts. And we start this second part of the show detailing the Cubs' 8-3 loss to the Cardinals on Thursday as the Cubs close out that series with 2 wins and 3 losses. Sam, Marcus Stroman really struggled today. 5 innings, 11 hits, 5 runs, 2 walks, and 1 strikeout.
Matt, I'm interested. I really want to hear your thoughts on this because Marcus Stroman is a really good example of a guy, because he's polarizing off the baseball diamond, that becomes like a very talked about sensitive subject for both for people that are supporting him or going against him. So when I say polarizing, what I mean by this is a lot of people really like Marcus Stroman off the field because he's very vocal about his personal beliefs, his political beliefs, and people enjoy that. And people are I don't want to say anti, it's not that serious, but against him because of his pettiness. For example, Lindsey Crosby, the great Lindsey Crosby, tweeted at me today
What?
and
Add
gave
another
me
spot to the bingo card.
and gave me an example of Marcus Stroman blocked him on Twitter last year when he literally did not tag Marcus Stroman in a tweet and didn't even insult him. There was like a list of 5 names of guys that were injured. Marcus Stroman was one of them. Stroman searched his name and blocked Lindsey Crosby. And he had a very bad breakup, Stroman, with the Mets, and Ron Darling and others have been very vocal. He's just a polarizing guy. And I try not to look at that stuff. I just like looking at the diamond, right?
I would edge towards that too.
When the Cubs signed, Chapman in 2016, a lot of people are like, why are you supporting this guy? It's like, listen, if he's allowed to play and I don't make that decision, I'm going to root for my baseball team. You know what I mean? I'm not the judge here. I just watch the game. Baseball's entertainment for me. So, and the reason I bring this up is because I tweeted about Stroman and I had a lot of people come back at me both ways, right?
Wow.
And so what I would say with Stroman is, on the field this year hasn't been good, hasn't been terrible. It's been very average. I think, his ERA.
He has been league average.
Yeah, his ERA is a little bit flattering because he had that blow up in Washington, and they gave him all unearned runs for that, which I thought was a little bit kind.
Sure.
But with Stroman, it's just like Suzuki. I want to watch these guys when it matters, and then I'll judge the contract and judge the deal. I think we all can agree he's not a number 1 starter. He's probably not a number 2, but I think after number 1, it gets confusing ranking these things, right? He's a nice pitcher that needs to pitch really well next year for the Cubs to be good. So does Kyle Hendricks. Seiya Suzuki has to hit. It's a lot of guys. But,
right.
My point is just let's, I don't know if you agree. Just let it be on the field. He hasn't been that great this year. He hasn't been awful. It's been
Yeah, I'm not too in tune with all the details with him. And I guess my instinct would be to say if there's a lot of chatter about what he's posting on Twitter, what he's liking.
Right.
I think you probably need to slow your roll a bit. I mean, we know the guy's on his phone all the time.
Right.
So inherently that's not going to be healthy.
Right.
He's liking everything. He apparently has time to literally type his name with the quotes on Twitter. When you put the quotes, that means you just search that term. Right. And it's a manual search, really? Right. That says more about him and his, not necessarily his character, but just his mode of operation and his maybe defensiveness to feedback or something like that, or just fan chatter. I do think this is a separate case from Aroldis Chapman, but
of course,
I don't like that he's on his phone all the time.
Yeah,
I will say that, but I'm not caught up in, or really even I haven't done my homework on his beliefs.
And let me clarify, I by no means was like,
how about you pitch better against a rival?
Right. By no means.
How does that sound?
By no means am I comparing, you know what I mean? Marcus Stroman hasn't done anything legal. I'm not saying that.
Yeah, right.
I'm just saying my whole thing is I just care what happens between the lines, and I think these people that are really upset at Stroman aren't going to be upset at him if he's 16-7 with a 2.85. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just he hasn't pitched that well this year.
Okay.
I think if he pitches well next year, it's a moot point.
I think there's times to talk about stuff off the field, but at the end of the day,
right,
he's been league average.
Yeah,
he's going to have to be better than that in 2023.
And for the people that love Stroman, he hasn't pitched that great. He
hasn't even been on the Cubs that long.
Yeah, and I saw one tweet from CHGO or whatever their show, and it was like, hey, Stroman this is the first time he's given up 5 earned runs since June 3rd. He didn't pitch from June 3rd to July 9th. It's like people are gonna.
Yeah, I think you've called that out before with others.
Yeah, it's like if you're gonna give a stat, we get it. You like Stroman, I like him too. I want him to pitch great, but let's have a little bit of logic.
Be fair.
Yeah, be fair. The fair thing to say is he's not been bad, but he hasn't been good either.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%.
And that cost us the game today. Although to be fair, letting Dakota Hudson go 7 innings at Wrigley Field, that's unacceptable.
That's an upset for sure.
Yeah, it's the first time he's gone 7 innings since
Oh,
No,
here
I'm
we
not
go.
no, I'm not doing
Go
it
ahead.
today.
Which president?
I feel like I've already said a lot of stuff. I'm not doing a president today. We're gonna go with Jimmy Carter.
Good deflection. 2 seconds later. Oh boy. JC, as I call him.
Stroman's not a number one starter. I think that's the point we're trying to make, but I think he could still be a really good asset to the Cubs. Let's see what happens next year.
One final question would be, based on what you saw in this series and knowing where the Cubs could go from here,
Yeah.
how far away are the Cubs from the Cardinals, who now lead the pack in the division?
Great question, Matthew. And I was actually listening to the Cardinals broadcast, and they ticked me off a little bit by sarcastically in the middle of the game. Some guy goes, "Hey, who's the face of the Cubs organization right now? How can the Cubs not have a face? Because you can't say it's Contreras. He'll be gone next year." Hey, listen. Sorry that we couldn't take advantage of the Rockies and Diamondbacks making moves that made zero sense. So now you have Goldschmidt and Arenado as the face of your organization. Anybody would have made that deal. I don't know. You got lucky. Congrats. We get it. You're a good organization. Let me just remind those guys something. The last time the Cubs and Cardinals met in the postseason, we won that series. The last team to win a World Series was the Chicago Cubs in 2016. I don't know how far they are. It feels like a pretty big gap because they do have some superstars on their team, but those gaps could be closed in a year. You sign a couple of guys. Amen. You get some good pitchers. I would say they're far, but not farther off than they should be at this point.
I love it. Let's go into the last part of the program here. We are going to preview the next series, the Cubs and that other team, and then get into a couple other news and notes and fan
best and
feedback.
Worst.
Oh, and best and worst as well. We're going to do that next. We're back here on Locked On Cubs. Your first listen every day, YouTube, Apple, and Spotify. What's up?
Let's not say that team's name anymore on the show.
That'd be sweet.
We know who we're playing.
That'd be a great bit.
Going up to Wisconsin.
Yeah,
and I'm lactose intolerant.
No mention of cheese around here. Right. Oh, no. Okay.
Sorry. I've been all over the place.
Best and worst of the week, Sam.
Yeah. Right.
This is the third straight week of us doing it here on this show.
I haven't even thought about it.
So this week in my current role at school, I went around to a lot of classrooms to promote the room that I'm stationed at and things like that. And, when I'm in some of these rooms, my background comes up, and what I'm currently up to, like outside of the building, right? And a big part of that is this show now. And so there's some teachers who allow me that opportunity to speak about the show.
Really?
And so there's some where I told the whole story, even about Jack and Subway, the Locked On Blackhawks host, and connecting with the Locked On people and doing the demos and getting the show.
Right.
And gave you a shout out a couple times. And
thank you.
Yeah. And so it was really cool. And so one of the times in this freshman English class, we always open it up to questions. Mm-hmm. And there's a couple questions about English class and writing, reading, whatever.
Right.
And then all of a sudden there's kind of a pause in this particular period. And then a freshman boy raises his hand. And we go, yeah, what's your final question? And he goes, do you think Tom Ricketts should sell the team?
and you said?
And I said, in a year, if they're not contending, he's going to be in trouble.
Yeah. Great answer. Great answer, man.
Yeah.
Great answer. You want to give us your worst? Or you want me to go
My worst of the week is this guy, Kervin Castro. Okay, this relief pitcher. Let's bring on Monday's show. I gave you a list of names. Let's flip-flop him with one of those names because his ERA is over 10, and it looks like he. Oh, never mind.
Yeah, got it.
His ERA is over 10.
Yeah, no, got it. Yeah, totally understand.
Don't want to get in trouble.
My best of the week is going to be the whole Pat Hughes situation.
Wow.
Happy that he was able to get honored. We don't have to talk about that ad nauseum anymore. We did it already. And my worst of the week on a personal level is I had my first softball game scheduled for tonight. I was
Oh,
really,
yeah. What happened with that?
I was really excited about it, and it got canceled due to inclement weather. And I look outside and I see nothing but sunshine, and I was
Same
ready to.
here.
And I was ready. I felt like I was going to hit. I was going to get 3 base hits in this ball game and play center field like I'm PCA.
Hey, right.
And now I have to wait. Now I have to wait an extra week. I was amped up. I was ready to go. So
I thought the last show we did, you said 2 hits. What changed? You took BP or something?
nothing changed. I don't
Oh,
know why I
nothing
said
changed. You increased it by 1. I mean,
Yeah,
I
I don't
don't.
know why. I don't know why I did that. Sorry.
Yeah. All right. Well, maybe next week, right?
Yeah, maybe. Or who knows? It could be 75 and sunny. It could be dangerous.
So this is from Big Ran in Cedar Lake, Indiana. Matt and Sam, I'm really enjoying your podcast and try to catch the episodes on YouTube with my morning coffee. Great way to start the day. That sounds like a great routine.
Beautiful.
He says, since the rosters are only expanded by 2 in September, why don't the Cubs give an early goodbye to guys like Ortega? He also brings up McKinstry, and see where other people are in the mix for next year. Great show. Keep up the good work. Yeah,
I don't know. Great question. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, McKinstry is still so new, but
No,
my instinct would be,
Yeah,
yeah,
McKinstry, no. Ortega, for sure.
right. Especially with the glut of outfielders in the system.
Yeah, I don't know. Big Ram.
I don't know why McKinstry let off Thursday's game, but I don't write the lineup.
I think he's a situation. They have to see it out. They made a trade.
I think so too.
He actually made a couple great plays at second today. He just can't throw.
Well, that's a problem.
It's a problem. Ask our old third baseman, Jonathan VR. Yeah, I don't know why Ortega. I don't understand. It would be a great question for Jed, and he would probably dodge around it. Why did they keep Hayward? Does Jackson Frazier still play in AAA?
He's hitting like 200 at AAA.
Oh, so he's fried.
He's toast.
Okay. Well, that answers that question. I don't know.
Big Darius Hill's hitting over 340, 25-year-old outfielder.
Mervis.
Right.
Could you who could you get rid of? I don't know. Ortega screams to mind. There's
a lot of options in my mind.
Yeah, right. There's a lot of pitchers. There's a lot of the same guys on this club.
Right. I think you could still go ahead.
PJ Higgins won for his last 27.
Oh no, that makes me sad.
Yeah, no, not good at bats.
Right. Gosh dang it. All right. Well,
what a show. This is an action-packed show. And you know what? People, I'm sure I said a lot of things that you're going to disagree with. Let's have a nice, fun debate in the comments. Comment on YouTube. Tell people about this. Go to a party on Saturday night and say, hey, instead of drinking and listening to music, we're going to listen to Locked On Cubs.
Correct. Put it on for everybody to hear on the speakers. Okay.
Yeah.
This weekend, by the way, it's going to be Steele v. Peralta, Smiley v. Woodruff, and Sampson v. Lauer. Those times, Central Standard, are going to be 7:10, 6:10, and 1:10. Right.
Yeah. Classic Brewers series in Wisconsin. Let's continue to have. Oh, sorry. I said their
That's
name.
okay.
That's all right. Classic series.
Forgiven.
All right, whatever. All right, bye.
All right, everybody. Thanks a lot for tuning in. Be sure to hit subscribe for Locked On Cubs on YouTube. Smash the like button and all your favorite Locked On Cubs content. Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. And drop us a text like Big Rand did, 312-834-4634. Thanks for making Locked On Cubs your first listen every day. Now make your second listen, the Locked On MLB podcast, where Paul Francis Sullivan brings humor, passion, unique perspective on every team and the biggest stories around the league. Fun Friday show. He's Sam Olber. I'm Matt Cozy. This is Locked On Cubs.